The Saw series is known for its unusual structures, with flashbacks and flashbacks, wild twist endings, and increasingly complex setups that take multiple films to pay off. To that end, I was curious what would happen if you edited the entire film series, all 10 movies, into a single entity, all in chronological order. This is the result. Now, generally the point of a fan edit is to improve the original product, to fix some issues with a released film, and to create something better. I've done this previously with Terrifier 2, the recent Halloween trilogy, and Late Night with the Devil, and in my opinion, all these make positive changes to the source material. The same cannot necessarily be said of the Chronology. This is more comparable to Gus Van Sant's 1998 Psycho remake, where he set out to see what happens if you make a shot-for-shot remake of a classic film. It answers the question of what if, without pondering why. But regardless of the intentionality behind it, the result still bears talking about. It should be noted that there are many spoilers for the Saw series, and if you somehow still care about that decades later, despite having not watched the film, I would avoid this summary. Feel free to watch the link Chronology, however, as I'm sure for a first-time viewer, it would be inscrutable. In the featured footage, the series is divided, where each film takes up a separate layer, resulting in what is basically a graph. We can see that from a zoomed-out perspective, the series is largely chronological with a few major exceptions. After some bits of background from Saw 4, there's a large stretch from Saw 8, or Jigsaw. That's because the trap plot, as opposed to the cop plot, is made to be Jigsaw's first large game, and as such is effectively a prequel to the series. After that is the plot of Saw 1, followed by Saw 10, which is an integral. Saws 3 and 4 take place at the same time, so we alternate between the two as fits the story and fits the timeline. This project was greatly assisted by the Saw Wiki's timeline page, although there were a few instances where it seemed to be incorrect, and I amended this project as needed. After that, Saw 5, 6, and 7 all take place in succession, with the cop plot of Jigsaw and Spiral following afterwards. It should be noted that while Spiral is considered part of the series, it is effectively just set in the same world, and there are few references to the rest of the series, and there are completely new characters and situations. So that's the macro perspective, but we can also dive deeper and see the influences of Saw's unique style. The first on-screen event in the films is a flashback in Jigsaw, showing a middle-aged character's high school misadventures, causing his friends to die in a car accident. This is obviously a sore point for Jigsaw, as he would later try to do away with himself in a car. Next we have a non-specific flashback from Saw 3, of a time John and Jill went up a hill and lived happily ever after. This would have probably been a better starting sequence, in terms of filmmaking, but chronological order takes precedence over story, or anything else, in this cut. What follows is actually Hoffman backstory, the villain from Saws 4 to 7. We see his sister in a brief scene, then we see her killed and him fall into depression. We also see his history being a corrupt cop, killing a suspect and standing up for a fellow officer. These characters will not be featured again for between 5 and 10 hours. That's another part of the chronology. Scenes will appear that will have no relevance for a very long time, although that somewhat stays true to the original. We also see slow-ass motherfucking Jeff in a brief flash, getting upset with his wife and her cheating on him. That's because his son was hit by a car and killed, but those flashbacks are simply still images, which I decided not to move. There's certainly a debate there, but at a certain point lines have to be drawn. We then get a bit of John and Jill's backstory, and we see her Method 1 acting clinic on display, and how John disagrees with the methods, but at this point he's not Jigsaw. We then see Cecil's encounter with Jill, accidentally killing her unborn baby. There is also a revelation from Saw 6 that Amanda, John's protege, was with Cecil on the night and encouraged him. This involves bouncing between Saws 4 and 6, where the ideas were introduced, then expanded upon. Saw often does this, where a movie or two later, a character will be shown in a scene that they were not previously in. John's life goes quite badly after this, as he falls into a depression and is then diagnosed with cancer. Finally, he attempts to unalive himself, but in fact re-alives himself with a car accident, becoming Jigsaw. His first test subject is Cecil, although the trap is crappy and falls apart. Then we get the trap plot of Jigsaw, without any of the mystery of how John Kramer is alive. We also have the first apprentice in the form of Logan, although given he's only in one scene, apparently they didn't work together long. Next is Saw 5's Hoffman backstory, and then approximately an hour and 20 minutes in, we get the first scene from Saw, with the barbed wire trap. This is one point where I disagree with the Saw wiki, which says the scene of Hoffman and Jigsaw discussing traps is before the barbed wire, but given the setting and the pin light, it should be placed before the fire trap, another Saw 1 classic. There is then the making of Amanda's trap from Saw 3, and then her playing the game, and finally, Jigsaw apprenticing her. We then get closer to Saw 1's main plot, with Dr. Gordon being interviewed by the police. They also find Jigsaw, but don't realize that Mr. I'm not a murderer has hidden blades and shotgun traps, and he gets away. Jill meets Amanda, and then we're at the beginning of Saw 1, with Gordon being kidnapped, then Adam. Just before the beginning of the bathroom, I put an intermission in, just about 2 hours in. There are 5 of these, because the total runtime excluding credits is 15 hours. Aside from where flashbacks were removed, Saw 1 plays out the same, and then the ending montage was taken out, with some shots re-edited. We do get to see the immediate aftermath of the game instead of cutting to credits, with Gordon crawling away, cauterizing his leg, and then being saved by Jigsaw. Adam is also saved by Amanda, in the form of being murdered by her. We get some backstory setting up Saw 6 and Saw 7, and then basically the entirety of Saw 10 plays, with very few cuts. The prelude to Saw 2 then occurs, with Gordon performing surgery to set up his opening trap. There's another intermission, and then the nerve gas house happens, the trap plot from Saw 2. It's a twist at the end that it was pre-recorded, and not at the same time as the cop plot of the film, but here, there is no twist. This did mean a large amount of cuts between the two sections, so the editing here is a bit rougher than other places. As an epilogue to Saw 2, we have the bits from Saw 3 and 4, which come immediately after, showing Amanda leaving Detective Matthews for dead, then Hoffman rescuing him and sticking him in a 19th century jail cell. This is the start of the 3/4 timeline, so things bounce back and forth quite a bit. We also have some flashbacks from Saw 6 and Saw 5, adding more backstory and interactions between Amanda and Hoffman. Also in the middle here is the one after credits scene from Saw 6, where Amanda warns Jeff's kid that Hoffman is evil. It's unclear whether this had any impact on the franchise, but it's still here. Saw 4 bleeds directly into Saw 5, where Hoffman is the hero. Saw 5 is probably the second least changed of the franchise, as the trap plot is essentially disconnected from everything else, but occurs at the same time as the cop plot. Saw 6 then happens, again largely unmodified, excepting the moved flashbacks. This is one of the larger payoffs, as the twist at the end is spoiled by the sequence after John is denied coverage, about 10 hours before. We then get to Saw 7, Hoffman kills everyone. The twist at the end with Jordan being Jigsaw's final apprentice is diminished, making a bad film even worse. Frankly, these last 3 films, 3D, Jigsaw, and Spiral, could be skipped, and little of value would be lost, but c'est la vie. Anyway, we get Spiral backstory, then get into the remainder of Jigsaw with a few twists spoiled early, then the remainder of Spiral, again with a twist spoiled early. These films are largely worse without these narrative elements, so the chronology ends with a whimper, not a bang. Despite my opinions of the quality of some of the later Saw films, I enjoyed putting this together, even if the end result isn't the best. The link to see it for yourselves is down below, so let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and as always, be well.